What are some very creepy facts? Story 1. There's a condition known as Cotard's syndrome, also known as walking corpse syndrome, in which a person believes they are dead, do not exist, or have lost their blood, organs, or body parts. Apparently, there was a man who went to his doctor and told him that he was dead. The doctor, of course, thought the man was joking and sent him home, but the man didn't give up. He kept coming back to the doctor, insisting that he was dead and that he could smell his own flesh rotting. The man eventually stopped eating and drinking because he believed that as a dead person he didn't need sustenance. His family was extremely worried and tried everything to convince him that he was alive, but nothing worked. Finally, they convinced him to go to a hospital where he was diagnosed with Cotard's syndrome. The doctors tried to treat him with medication and therapy, but it took months before he finally started to come around and accept that he was in fact alive. It's a truly chilling story, and it's scary to think that someone's mind could be so twisted and distorted that they believe they are no longer living. Story 2. A creepy fact I've been told some time ago is that there are over 100 billion neurons in the human brain, but no one really understands how consciousness arises from them. The idea that we can never truly understand our own mind and what makes us conscious is both fascinating and unsettling. Story 3. There are reportedly around 2,000 active serial killers operating in the United States at any given time, according to the FBI. And those are only the ones the FBI registers. There are surely many, many more. That means that there could be a killer living in your neighborhood right now and you would have no idea. Story 4. There are cases of people being buried alive by accident. Yes, you heard that right. There have been documented cases throughout history of people who were mistakenly pronounced dead and subsequently buried alive. One such case happened in the 1600s. A young woman named Alice Blandon was believed to have died from cholera and was promptly buried. However, a few days later, a gravedigger heard strange noises coming from her grave. When they opened it up, they found Alice still alive but unconscious. Alice's terrifying ordeal didn't end there. She was taken to a doctor who declared her dead for a second time and ordered her to be reburied. It wasn't until her fiancé demanded an autopsy that it was discovered she had actually been in a coma and was buried alive twice. The thought of being buried alive is the stuff of nightmares, and the fact that it has happened before only makes it more terrifying. It's no wonder that fear of being buried alive, or taphophobia, was so prevalent in the 19th century that people even created safety coffins with bells and breathing tubes to prevent that. Story 5. Some people have reported seeing what's known as shadow people, which are humanoid figures that appear to be made of solid black shadows. And let me tell you, the stories about these things are absolutely spine-chilling. I remember one time I was staying at my friend's house and I woke up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom. As I was walking back to the guest room, I saw a shadow figure standing at the end of the hallway. At first, I thought it was just my eyes playing tricks on me, but as I got closer, I could see it more clearly. It was like a three-dimensional shadow, completely black and featureless. I froze in my tracks, trying to convince myself that it was just my imagination, but the figure started moving towards me. It didn't walk, it just sort of floated towards me, gliding along the ground. I felt this overwhelming sense of dread wash over me, like I was in the presence of something truly evil. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. The figure got closer and closer until it was right in front of me, and then, just as suddenly as it had appeared, it vanished into thin air. I was left standing there in the hallway, shaking and terrified. It wasn't until the next morning that I learned about shadow people and realized that I wasn't the only one who had seen them. Some people believe that they are the spirits of the dead, while others think they might be some kind of interdimensional beings. All I know is that I never want to see one again. Story 6. Well, one creepy fact that comes to mind is about the Dyatlov Pass incident. In 1959, a group of experienced hikers in the Ural Mountains of Russia died under mysterious circumstances. When their bodies were found, they had all fled their tents in the middle of the night, seemingly in a panic, and some were found with severe injuries and internal damage despite no obvious signs of physical trauma. To this day, no one knows exactly what happened to the hikers that night, but theories range from an avalanche to military involvement to supernatural causes. Story 7. Some people have reported seeing doppelgangers of themselves or their loved ones. One time, my friend Sarah told me about the eerie experience she had with a doppelganger. She was at home alone, getting ready for bed, when she saw her husband walk into the room. She said "good night" to him, and he responded, but then he walked right past her and disappeared into the hallway. She was confused and followed him, but there was no one there. She checked the rest of the house, but her husband was nowhere to be found. Eventually, he came home from work, and Sarah was shocked. She told him about what she had seen, and he was just as bewildered as she was. Apparently, seeing a doppelganger can be a sign of impending doom or bad luck, and it's not something to be taken lightly. So, if you ever see a ghostly twin of yourself or someone you know, you might want to be extra cautious in the days to come. Story 8. Did you know that the human body can move and twitch even after death? It's called cadaveric spasm, and it's a rare phenomenon where the muscles in a dead body contract and remain contracted, causing the body to contort into strange positions. I remember hearing about a case where a man was found dead in his home, sitting on his couch with his arms tightly crossed over his chest. When the coroner arrived on the scene, they discovered that the man had passed hours before, but his body was still in that position, as if he was holding onto something or trying to protect himself. The weird thing is, cadaveric spasm usually only lasts for a few minutes, but this man's body had been stuck in that position for hours. It was like he was frozen in time, unable to let go of whatever he was holding onto in his final moments. They say that sometimes, when a person dies suddenly or violently, their body can overcome by a surge of adrenaline, causing their muscles to contract and remain contracted even after death. It's a chilling thought. Story 9. The average person will walk by a serial killer 36 times in their lifetime. Now, I'm not trying to freak you out, but this fact hits close to home for me because it actually happened to me. A few years back, I was out for a jog in the park when I noticed a man sitting on a bench. He seemed harmless enough, just reading a book and enjoying the nice weather. I didn't think anything of it and continued on my run. Over the next months, I kept seeing this same man in various places around town, at the grocery store, at the coffee shop, even at the gym. I never spoke to him, but I started to feel like he was following me. One day I saw his face on the news. He had been arrested for a string of murders in our area. I couldn't believe I had walked dozens of times by that same man. It sent chills down my spine. It still does. Story 10. There is a phenomenon called the hum that some people report hearing. The hum is a low-frequency sound that is not audible to everyone, but for those who can hear it, it can be maddening. I never knew about the hum until I experienced it myself. It started one night when I was trying to fall asleep. I kept hearing a loud, almost subsonic hum that seemed to be coming from inside my head. At first I thought it was just my imagination, but as the night went on, the sound grew louder and more persistent. It wasn't until I stumbled upon an online forum that I realized what I was experiencing was a real phenomenon that others had reported. Some people have even gone to extreme lengths to try and find the source of the hum, including contacting local government officials and conducting their own investigations. To this day, I still hear the hum from time to time, and it always sends shivers down my spine. The thought of an unexplainable, low-frequency sound that only certain people can hear is enough to give anyone the creeps. Let me know your stories in the comments to be part of a future video. Like and subscribe to be notified of new uploads, and click on this video to hear more stories.